Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to another edition of American Focus. I'm your host, Sayeed Sabur, and we're being joined with our co-host, Ron, and also a special guest, Brother Nashid. And on today's segment of American Focus, we'll be discussing 9/11 truth and consequences. Well, after this selection plays out, we'll get right into our news and commentary, and then from there we'll get into the discussion about 9/11 truth and consequences. Thank you for joining us for another segment of American Focus. I'm your host, Sayeed Sabur. Our co-host, Ron, is also with us. Ron, are you there?
Yes, sir.
And Brother Nashid, are you there too?
Yes, Sayeed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
First of all, we would like to inaugurate a new format for American Focus. Me and Ron will be giving some news commentary about current events and a number of articles that we've looked up that I think would be very interesting for our listeners to know about. And on that note, I would like to start off with some issues that really concern all of us. This Grand Mosque Zero project, for example, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, and if you go on www.ascertainthetruth.com, which is Brother Nashid's web page, you will be that article by Victor Thorne called "The Grand Masquerade." Is it available right now, Brother Nashid, or
no? It should be up like about a half hour after the program. I should put it up.
Sure. Okay. And in regards to that article, the reason why I wanted to bring this article to everybody's attention, because it really does very well to Mr. Thorne, and I wrote also a piece too calling the Imam or Plant in reference to Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf. And in this article by Victor Thorne, Mr. Thorne, who has written several books about 9/11 and about Barack Obama and other issues, he has written an outstanding piece documenting the various money connections behind the man who's behind this Grand Mosque Zero project. In the previous show on American Focus, we actually just went out and named names about a lot of people within the American Islamic community we feel have become rather patsies for the American government and for the American government interests, whether it's in regards to 9/11 or the extension of war overseas. And we mentioned Hamza Yusuf, we mentioned Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf, we mentioned Michael Wolff and Irshad Maji and a host of other people. And you can go on www.ascertainthetruth.com, as well as there are numerous other web pages. There's one in particular if you, called Progressive Muslims, Friends of Imperialism and Neocolonialism. And this article is very important because Mr. Thorne talks about how Rauf in the past and even presently is hobnobbing with various Zionist and other nefarious organizations that are promoting globalism as well as the extension of war overseas. And and after that article, there was another article that Victor Thorne wrote called "Activist Says Muslims Fail to Refute September 11th Lies," and it's also by Victor Thorne, and it's in regards to an American-born convert or revert to Islam, Carol Ann Batnigi. And you will find her article also in the same issue of American Free Press that Mr. Thorne wrote his article, Exposing the Grand Masquerade. And in that article, this convert, American-born convert, she, Mrs. Al-Batnigi, had basically criticized severely actually criticized the many voices in the Islamic world which are not standing up and refuting the lies of the American government. And me and Brother Nashid have spoken hours about this, the failure of the American Muslim community, and not just the American Muslim community, the Muslim community in general, for not taking the lead in stressing to the public that 9/11 was not committed by Muslims, but rather was committed. It was committed in connivance by both the American government as well as in connivance with the Israeli government. And with that being said, Ron, do you have anything to share with us?
Oh yeah, I got loads of articles. I could probably spend 2 hours on it. But we're familiar with the story that just broke. Supposedly brand new information about the medical experiments in Guatemala. Have you heard about that, Sayeed?
A little bit. Could you expand on that?
Okay, it was on the news, the regular ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, all of them, talking about how the United States government conducted experiments in Guatemala where they deliberately infected the people with syphilis and other socially transmitted diseases without them knowing about it, so they could test penicillin to see if it worked. And no one knows how many thousands of people died from this experiment, but it's just one among dozens of experiments that the United States government has conducted in America and around the world on people. And my personal opinion is they weren't testing it to see if their penicillin was effective against it. They could have done that with sheep. They did it to see if they could get away with conducting experiments of this kind against people in Guatemala and in other nations and also in America. They did the same thing, the Tuskegee experiments. I'm sure most people are familiar with that. Same thing, syphilis, other gonorrhea, etc., diseases where they were given to poor black people these diseases, and they were not treating them. In this Tuskegee case, they did not treat them to see what the effects of the disease were over long periods of time. But as far as I'm concerned, they were just testing to see how well they could get away with murdering people and not get caught, or how long before they would get caught. And nothing happens when these people get caught. No one goes to prison. Nothing ever happens to them. And they did the same thing in Israel. Little babies were, I forget exactly what the disease was, that little Jewish babies were given for the purpose of just killing them. A lot of these diseases are deliberately spread around just for the purpose of killing off the population.
Right, that's actually, I remember reading the same thing about AIDS. And I'm glad you brought this up, Ron, because there's a lot of evidence, and there's numerous articles and studies that have been done that AIDS was actually created at Fort Detrick, Maryland. We talked about this in previous shows.
Yeah.
That at the Fort Detrick, Maryland, they created the AIDS virus. And when they create these man-made diseases, and Jim Marrs wrote recently a book that touches a lot upon this, when they create these man-made diseases in terms of using them as tools of biological warfare and population reduction, usually the people that are hard hit are people in third world countries, in Asia, in Africa, as well as the poor and the downtrodden. They use them literally as human guinea pigs to see how effective these weapons, these real WMDs, not the fake WMDs that the Bush administration claimed they were in Iraq, or they claim that are in Iran. But I'm talking about these are the real WMDs, these man-made diseases. They use them, and if they are affected, then they put them on a mass scale. And we've seen what has happened in Africa with AIDS virus, and India, by the way, is next. Is going to be the greatest number of HIV infections I heard is going to be India in the next decade or so.
Well, they're saying they're also helping out the Red Chinese by taking AIDS to China to kill off the Chinese, because the Chinese have a massive problem with overpopulation, and they've got the one-child policy. A couple can only have one child.
Actually, I have a caller. One moment. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Great. Who is this?
My name's Frank Garrett, and I live in Stillwell, Oklahoma.
Excuse me?
Frank Garrett.
Frank Garrett. Okay. Hello. How are you? What did you did you have a question, sir?
No, sir. The telephone just rang, and I answered it, and it was you. Now explain that one to me.
Oh, boy.
You make me want to laugh, you son of a bitch.
Okay. It seems I think that Halloween has come a little early nowadays, so that's okay. Brother Nashid, you had something to say, and then I'll let you go. I'll come back to you, Ron.
I think what you were talking about, I think some have described it as a pandemic. And I don't know if you're familiar with Ralph Shulman and Maya Schoen. They do a program called Taking Aim, and they have exposed a lot of these pandemics to be man-made, and the purpose is population reduction. And we have seen how a lot of the elites, they feel that they have a right to live, and the resources of the planet, they project over in time that we'll have too many people. So they feel they have a right to decide who will live and who will not. And they put all these things out there to, reduce the population. When you look at, it's not only through diseases, as we know, but you look at the wars and you look at the unnecessary killings of the millions of people all over the planet, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Yemen, and in Somalia and other places. They have already made a decision that the brown-colored people, the poor, the ones who are of Islamic faith, and those who they want to target are the ones they want to eliminate as much as possible. But Ron, you were mentioning the article, and I did. In fact, one of my colleagues at work had sent that article to us. I didn't read it, but I didn't get a chance to read it, but where was it published? Was that at a New York Times mainstream media article, or was it published at a different source?
Are you talking about the Guatemalan?
Yeah, the Guatemalan, yeah. I thought the number was 646 from what I heard, that there were 646 men that was infected with this gonorrhea and syphilis, was that in mainstream media article, or was that from other source?
Okay, well, the source I went to picked up was from Natural News. .com. It's the Mike Adams, the health ranger, who has a fantastic website. He deals with anything dealing with health, and obviously venereal disease has something to do with health. So he covers it. But all you have to do is just do a search on any major search engine, and you'll probably find New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, etc. But I didn't see any figures in my article that I'm looking at it right now, And wait a minute, mine says 1500.
Oh, 1500. Okay.